Hey everybody, welcome back to another Blind Tuesdays. Hope you guys been enjoying the content on the channel as of late. Excuse me as I just am adjusting my lighting and everything, just trying to get in the best spot possible. Probably right there. Yeah, that's good. Just get an intimate setting. Um, we didn't have a Blind Tuesdays last week. Just got caught up in work, and some days now I'm just a little bit tired. Just prefer to just kick it, just relax. So if you just notice like some videos here and there, it's just know, I got adult things going on, so you know, just just need my own time, from work afterwards and stuff like that. But anyways, we're here for another Blind Tuesdays, and last time we spun the wheel, it was for animation, and this one was interesting because again, probably just from work, but I was just having a hard time thinking of animated films, and because we talked a lot about some animated films recently on Film of the Week. We talked about Wall-E. We talked about, I think we talked about something else as well. I forget, um, but but yeah. So I figured just to address another film that I have seen, just because again, just haven't had time or just really the energy to watch something. So I figured to address Wes Anderson, specifically Fantastic Mr. Fox, which was co-written and directed by Wes Anderson, the other writer being Noah Baumbach, actually. Uh, Starring George Clooney, Meryl Streep, Jason Schwartzman, who is a frequent collaborator with Wes Anderson, as well as Bill Murray, as well as Willem Dafoe, as well as Owen Wilson. Score by Alexandre Desplat, who you guys would know for many scores, specifically with this and The Shape of Water. He would go on to do Grand Budapest Hotel, Isle of Dogs. Most recently did French Dispatch, as well as Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, the better Pinocchio that came out that year. Did he do? Yeah, he also did Asteroid City as well. So he's a frequent collaborator of Wes Anderson's as well. Um, Released in 2009, piece of stop motion and based off of a 1970s children's novel by Roald Dahl, who you guys would know, wrote some very famous novels, specifically Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, The Witches, which would be adapted later on by Robert Zemeckis, and I believe there was also one in the 90s or so like that, as well as the wonderful story of Henry Sugar, which was recently adapted by Wes Anderson himself. So there's a lot of relationships, within this sort of film. There's a lot of, people who've worked with each other before, new collaborators, a bunch of other things. And, it's not like it's not a fresh new type deal with like brand new cast and all that sort of stuff. But to speak on the film proper, though, tells a story of a family of foxes. Mr. Fox, played by George Clooney, who was a bit of a rebel in his prime, in his younger years. Would be going off and trying to steal food or sorts from a farm, and his who would be his wife, named Felicity, played by Meryl Streep, pops into the picture, and both get together, and or actually they were together for a bit, and finds out that she is pregnant, and within that, Mr. Fox swears off no more of this life. Let's just dabble into fatherhood. Let's just start a family, and such a thing happens. They end up having a kid, and the kid is a bit of a hardhead, teenager mentality, and new kid nephew comes in to visit. There's tensions, and Mr. Fox is eager to like get back into, get back into his old ways, and eventually he gets a chance to do so. Doesn't do so well, and ends up in a bad position with his family and for just the community that he lives in with all the other animals. And it's up to him and his family to fix the problem and ultimately learn the value of each other and learn about more about the current times of the dynamics. So in essence, it's a pretty standard idea about family, about the importance of it, accepting some newfound strengths and weaknesses within your present, learning to leave that selfishness behind and trying to live in the act of service for others. So it has some typical but sound like ideas. And just like all of Wes Anderson's films, there's a screenplay that's being utilized here that's quirky, at times comedic, very fashionable, deadpan, adult-oriented type vocalizations, or at least in the directions being given by Wes Anderson, the utilization of that screenplay. There comes that sort of flavor that you come to know for Wes Anderson, that deadpan type demeanor, at least when it comes to vocalizing, at least representing the words that were written. And that mentality is usually that within Wes Anderson films, and it echoes kind of like that of Monty Python, has similar like sensibilities. The difference, I will say, though, between Monty Python and Wes Anderson is that what Monty Python holds is that self-referential type, and is taps into that so much more than what Wes Anderson does, in that he lacks that that sort of awareness. Instead, taking this rather unique look more seriously than what Monty Python would do, which is the true weakness of Wes Anderson, in my opinion, is that his style isn't meant to be taken seriously, but he himself always chooses to view it that way, and it's it's when you look at the writing itself, it's all about wordplay. It develops characteristics within that quirky that quirky like sensibility, and within that sort of style that Wes Anderson builds up aesthetically. But that sort of style should lend itself more to self-referential approaches, and within that become much more digestible and more meaningful as a result. Instead, what you get is something that sounds more meaningful, quite literally, within just the screenplay, which is written quite well and has those details. But that's more or less what it is. It just sounds more meaningful, but in essence, narratively speaking, it really isn't. It's just something pretty standard in concept. Like I said, this idea of family and about accepting our strengths and weaknesses, our own values individually within the present. It's pretty standard ideas, but for the most part, when Wes Anderson tries to put all these components together, what you get is something that is aesthetically interesting, but is more concerned with that and has a seriousness to it that is highly unnecessary. I feel that if he tapped into that self-reference, just that reflective like nature, if he had tapped into that more as a director, then I feel that I would be more engaged with his movies, because the reason why I'm kind of like just broadly speaking about Wes Anderson is because a lot of his movies pretty much act the same to me. Like Asteroid City and Fantastic Mr. Fox, to me, with the mentality, it's just one and the same. I would say the same thing for Bottle Rocket, or say the same for Isle of Dogs. They all share the same mentalities. That one outlier, I would say, is the Grand Budapest Hotel, where it seems that he was able to find that middle ground within aesthetics and within kind of that self-referential mood that he needs in order for everything else to be enhanced and to be much more resonant and more meaningful. It seems like that was the outlier, but then he just kind of slipped back into his usual thing with just operating more aesthetically and more fashionably within dialogue, and less so with the overall personality and the overall mentality of his movies, which is troubling to say. That's ultimately the word for his craftsmanship is troubling. And I would say the same for Fantastic Mr. Fox, in that aesthetically it's great. I mean, stop motion is a dying art, and seeing just this and with Isle of Dogs existing in the modern era is quite a treat. And the performances are good. I heard they actually filmed actual sequences with the actual actors, live action pieces, but then utilize those. Sorry, to utilize those actual motions for the stop motion animation. I could be wrong on that, but I don't know. But and again, the writing is great. But it's just that his films are always a mixed bag for me. Mostly troubling because I I could see what he's trying to do. It seems as though he is very inspired by at least the spirit of Monty Python. But the difference, like I've illustrated, is that Monty Python continuously makes itself self-aware, and to us, we are. It shows us that, look, we understand a certain thing. We understand the kind of ridiculousness, the off-putted quality. We're not above that. We're not trying to take our craft to a certain length, a certain seriousness. We have passion, but we're not very serious. If you get that difference, in those two words. With Anderson, it's more of the latter. There is a seriousness embedded within his films, and that seriousness is not necessarily needed. And it kind of illustrates his weaknesses as a filmmaker. Not much as a screenwriter, but more or less as a filmmaker, because, like I said before, his style isn't meant to be taken seriously, but he always chooses to view it that way. It's similar in the vein of how I feel about Quentin Tarantino, in that he is a stronger screenwriter than he is a filmmaker. The writing is there, aesthetically it's there, but how he chooses how to put these pieces together as a director, as a filmmaker, it usually just falls short for me. And Fantastic Mr. Fox is just another illustration of that. The only outlier to all that was Grand Budapest, because I think that the overall style of Grand Budapest Hotel and how they utilize that style, and how Anderson utilizes his writing as well, one is not taking priority. They're both on the same level, and thus everything feels more complete, feels more resonant, feels more impactful. With these other films, there's more of a priority to wordplay and more of a dominance to that concern, and because of that, I just feel rather distant to his work and just not really jiving overall with the personality. I had that issue with Asteroid City, and I feel like I will continue to have that issue, because that's pretty much what he has submitted or cemented as his overall style. His style just overall, generally speaking, just lacks in substance. And Fantastic Mr. Fox is another example of that, in that aesthetically it's there, the writing is there, there are good components there. I just don't know if I really have, emotionally speaking, as much care to what I am watching as I am more just, in some cases, dazzled by the animation and by the overall writing. So it's okay, but it could be better if the mentality of Wes Anderson as a director was different. I wish he did more of what he did in Grand Budapest Hotel, but it just seems as time goes on, Grand Budapest Hotel was just kind of a happy accident or just an isolated incident because generally speaking, he is who he is. He has more concern for wordplay and presenting as such and not looking to embed it within something more meaningful and more interesting and more resonant. Just there for style and nothing more than that. And that only gets me so far nowadays. So yeah, so those are my thoughts on Fantastic Mr. Fox. I think it's okay. Um, I think it's okay, and I'm not generally excited for Wes Anderson. I know a lot of film nuts like him, but I don't know. I think people like him as much as they do like Quentin Tarantino, like kind of like similar fan bases and similar reasonings. It seems. I just think they both have good writing, but they're not strong filmmakers. That's how I'll put it. So, and they have interesting styles, but I think that they themselves don't know how to utilize that style correctly. So, but that's just my opinion. But this being Blind Tuesdays, we're gonna go to the wheel here, and we're going to pick next week's film for Blind Tuesdays. So let's do this. So let's spin the wheel here and see what we got. So here we go. So next week on Blind Tuesdays, it's going to be Okay. All right. We were very close to drama. So, but we're actually going to be doing a martial arts film. So we're going to be doing martial arts once again. Got some ideas. We already did Enter the Dragon, so we can't do that. We already did we did Kung Fu Panda, so we can't do that one. Kung Fu Panda 2 specifically. But you know, let me know your thoughts on what your guys picks for martial arts. It just has to be martial arts, not decade specific, just a martial arts film. So let me know your picks in the comment section below, and of course your thoughts on Fantastic Mr. Fox and generally with just Wes Anderson. Do you guys jive with how I feel, or do you guys think he's just generally great? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And that's going to be it for me, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in, and until then, I will catch you guys in the next video.